Purewal for Boxing Social. I'm delighted now to be joined by Eddie Hearn. Eddie, how are you doing?
Doing very well, thank you. Good to be. I don't know where I am, but I don't know what time it is, but we're here and we're breathing. And that is the most important thing.
I was about to say, you've been doing miles recently. You just come back from LA. What was you doing out there?
Just sightseeing.
I don't quite believe.
I'm not talking. After my performance in my previous videos before the Fury-Wilder fight, I'm not mentioning any negotiations in further life or thoughts. So just out there seeing a few people.
Well, before we come to any negotiations, we're obviously here for Kell Brook and Brook-Zerafa. Kell's obviously eager to get back onto that world stage. I spoke to John Fuchs earlier. He said he'd be more than happy to throw Kell in with an elite level fighter, having worked with him now. How come Kell's had to come through this rebuilding process so much?
It's not really rebuilding. I mean, obviously, look, he broke his second eye socket against Errol Spence. He came back against Rabchenko, and unfortunately, he was supposed to fight in July and got injured. So he's now been out for 9 months, and now we're talking about going into a Khan fight, going into a Spence fight, a Porter fight. He needs another fight, and it's not a box office blockbuster. But Zerafa's not a mug. Watch the Peter Quillen fight. He'll have a right go. I don't think he'll be good enough. But we want to see Kell with his new trainer. I think he's actually going to come in very light for this fight. And then he's going to move on into a monster fight. Whether that's Khan, whether that's one of the guys I mentioned, I don't know. But he does need this fight, and I think it'll be entertaining.
Yeah, a few people have mentioned, and John mentioned, that they could, if they wanted to, bring Kell in at 147. Yeah. Would that be a smart move, or...?
He's probably, I think he's about £154 or less now, which I've never seen him at, not even when he's making 147. So he said to me today, do you want me to make 147? So I said, no, what's the point in that? He said, no, but I can make it. I said, yeah, but just, come in where you're comfortable at, which will probably be 149, 150, something like that. But it just shows you that with the right prep and the right mindset, the right prep's probably wrong. He's always had the right prep. But his discipline's been poor, his mindset's been poor. So now it's not, and now I think he's looking at 147 going, could have a real charge here. And 12 months ago, I thought Kell Brook was finished. I had lunch with him, he was 14 stone, he was depressed, and he was basically saying, get me one more fight, sling me in a monster, and then I'm done. Now he's talking about 3 years, and I'm just glad he's happy. Because he's got a spring in his step, looks $1 million, and he can fight, mate. Kell Brook's a great fighter, and you'll see that on Saturday night, and you'll see that in the future as well.
Now, talk to me about as well this, Khan-Crawford and the Brook triangle that's come about. What is the situation with Amir Khan and Terence Crawford?
So we've been offered a deal by Top Rank to fight Terence Crawford. Okay, I don't want him to take that fight. I want him to fight Kell Brook. It's double the money. It's the fight the British public want. But Crawford is a good fight. It is for a world title, so it's not like he's taking a rubbish fight, but I just want Khan Brook. I think it's a brilliant fight. On paper, it's an easier fight for Khan than Crawford, and it's just the one. It's the one. It's the one that's going to have the build-up, the intensity, the drama, the exposure, just everything. And listen, if he fights Crawford, he fights Crawford. We ain't going to fall out, but I want him to fight Kell Brook.
If Khan and Brook don't fight in the next bout, obviously, provided Kell comes through Saturday unscathed, he's the mandatory for Jarrett Hurd then. Would it be likely that we won't see Brook-Khan if it doesn't happen next?
I think if you don't see it next, it will never happen. And I think Kell, I think in Amir's head, he can fight Crawford, win or lose, fight Brook. I don't think Kell will have that. I think it's now or never. And even now, I think in Kell's head, he's already thinking about Spence, Porter, Garcia, Vargas, these kind of guys, So he's just excited about what's next, and I'm excited for him, to be honest with you. I think it's 50-50 right now whether Khan fights Crawford or Brook, and we'll see over the next couple of weeks.
A win for Brook would make him mandatory for Jarrett Hurd, who fought Jason Wellborn on the weekend. What did you make of that bout?
I haven't seen it all. I saw the finish. People are telling me Hurd didn't look that impressive. I rate Hurd highly. I think he's a huge 154-pounder. Kell's a small to medium 154-pounder. But I think Kell would be up for the Jarrett Hurd fight. I think it's a good fight. I think he can win that fight. But it all depends on his decision about 147 or staying up there.
Obviously, the headline of that fight was the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury fight. What did you make of the matchup in the end?
I thought it was a good fight. I still don't think it's the classic people are talking about. Some rounds, I think 3 or 4 punches were landed, but it was a good fight. I thought Fury was excellent. I thought Wilder was terrible. I thought it was very dramatic. I thought the 12th round was stunning. I thought Fury won the fight by 2 rounds. I thought a draw was wrong, but not horrific, but wrong. And I thought 115, 111 was absolutely horrific to Deontay Wilder. Fury proved me wrong again. Like I said, hold my hands up. I'll give him props. I respect him. Great performance. He's better than I thought he was. He's got a better chin than I thought he had. He's got a better engine than I thought he had. He's got a better mindset than I thought he had. And I really want to see Fury Joshua. And I believe in my heart of hearts that Joshua beats him. And I believe in my absolute heart of hearts that he beats Deontay Wilder. And they're 2 fights we must make happen.
That's a question which I really want to ask you now. Fury, if he gets, there's still probably another 20-30% minimum, in my opinion, that he can develop on and come back to. If he hits those levels, because of the type of fighter he is, the style that he brings, in my opinion, it's very hard to see somebody beating him in the division. I'll give AJ a better chance than what I did Wilder, but I just don't see how someone beats him. How do you beat him, and do you give AJ that much of a chance?
I do. I think AJ knocks him out because you beat him by controlling him physically and by not just following him around like Deontay Wilder did, looking for one pot shots. You beat him by beating him up. You beat him by knocking him out and over-strengthening him, beating him up on the inside. It's difficult to do. Even, like if you watch the knockdown in the 12th, he rides the shot so well. So even the left hook, he rode that shot on the way down. He might have even been unconscious, I don't know. But he's very, very awkward. Make no mistakes, the Fury fight for Josh is much tougher, in my opinion, than the Wilder fight. It's nowhere near as dangerous, right? Like, fighting Fury is not dangerous. You may get out-skilled and out-awkward, if that's a word, but you won't get hurt. You won't get hurt. But you fight Wilder, you can get hurt. But you can also knock him spark out quite easily. It's very difficult to knock Fury out. But I just believe Josh does it. You probably believe Fury does it. That's why it's a great fight. Because we don't know. And we'll find out. But Josh thinks he wins. We think he wins. Joshua wants that fight. But Joshua wants to be undisputed champion. That's legacy stuff. So the aim for us is to fight Wilder. If we can't get Wilder for April, we'll fight Fury. If they fight each other, we got to fight someone else. Wyatt, Usyk, who knows? Chisora might beat Wyatt. I don't know. Anything could happen. But what a great time for the division. Everyone's talking about it. And Saturday was the best thing that could have happened because now you've got another player in the heavyweight division. And everybody talking about the sport. And do you think AJ's still number 1? Maybe he's number 3 now. Oh, that's good for AJ because he's thinking, right, I'll fucking show you.
What has AJ said to you since the fight?
He's not really he didn't watch the fight. I think he watched it afterwards. He wants to fight Fury. He wants to fight Wilder. He thinks he beats them both. He thought Wilder would knock Fury out. I think he thinks Fury's a more difficult fight, style-wise. But that's why Fury has that success. Because he's fucking very awkward and very tricky. And he's got a great brain. And the thing about Fury is he has a great mindset. Right? Mentally, although he had his mental problems, he's actually mentally very strong in a fight. He messes with your head before the fight, but even in the fight, and he's very confident in what he's doing. He believes in what he's doing. So, I rate him as the number 2 heavyweight in the world.
And finally, what is the likelihood that we will see AJ versus Fury or Wilder in April?
Well, if Wilder wants to become the undisputed champion, which he always says, one face, one champ, one blah, 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 then he has to fight Josh. And he has to really do it next because he'll get beat. Someone else will get beat. A mandatory will come in. But the rematch is a big fight. It's not as big as the Joshua fight, but it's a big fight. People want to see it. Or we may just fight Fury. And then Wilder's left holding his dick. So who knows what's going to happen. But one thing I will tell you is AJ's had 22 fights. He's beaten Dillian Whyte, Klitschko, Parker, Takam, Brazil, Povetkin. He's beaten 7 fighters that when he's fought them have all been in the top 10 in the Ring magazine. Right? So he will fight everybody. And he's got 6 or 7 years. Some of these guys may only have 12 months left. Josh has got 6 or 7 years left and he will fight everybody, but I appreciate the fans want it now, and by the way, so do we, and so does AJ. So hopefully we get it now. But what a time for boxing.
Well, Eddie, that's a perfect way to end. Thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Nice one. Cheers, mate.